What up? What up? We are live. So, for those of you who don't know, Coach Nat and myself are actually neighbors.
Like
So, we're
real
chatting on
neighbors.
screen, but we live across the street from each other. So, hi, neighbor.
Howdy, neighbor. It's kind of cool what happens in this community when you meet people online and then you find out, oh, I can walk to your place.
So Erin, what's up, Erin?
Ah, our girl Erin.
She saw a photo of Coach Bronson, Coach Nat's better half, or other half, I shall say. Coach Nat is the better half. Um, at St. James, and I was like, "Huh, I go to a St. James." And she saw a vlog I did and a walking video, so she kind of put two and two together. She's like, "I think you guys live near each other." And yeah, across the street.
Speak of the devil.
Speaking of the
You don't
devil,
talk about me.
Coach Nat's the better half. Sorry.
She
It's
called
not a
you my
lie.
better half.
It's not a lie.
She had to correct herself. He said, wait, what video is this tonight? I said, I'm chatting with Nicole. He's like, oh, do I have to behave? I said, well, I'm chatting with Nicole, so no, you don't really have to behave. You can join in if you want. Oh no, I can't hear you all of a sudden. I can't hear you now. Did I do something? I think it's showing that, it looks like it's showing that you're muted or your mic is off.
Why am I muted?
Whoa, there it is. Now you're back.
Oh, well, what I was saying before I was interrupted by the mute button. So Coach Nat and I chatted, and we're testing it out of making this a new series, kind of like a fun little rant talking about various things within the space. Since we are both passionate about emotional eating, food addiction, and we're coming from different experiences with that, both personal and professional, we figured we'd kick off this first session with talking about the concept of once an addict, always an addict, and our thoughts about that topic. But before we get started, let's welcome some people in the chat, and then we'll do some, because we do have people from both of our chats, and maybe we'll just do brief introductions of ourselves. So Juju B.
That's Juliana. Juliana is somewhat of a neighbor as well. She's in the same vicinity, a little bit farther away from we are. She can't walk to us, but she's in the area.
Oh, so cool. It's such a small world.
We have a crew, man. It was, you know what it was? Bronson and I, when we hosted our conference last year, we met people in and around the Maryland, Virginia, DC area. So we now have buddies around here.
That's cool.
We need more friends in real life.
We need to get out more.
Life is on the interwebs. We need real life.
We need real friends, real people.
By the way, I'm not popping a beer over here, although it kind of looks like one. It's the bougie San Pellegrino.
What is that?
San Pellegrino
That's
Essenza.
it.
This is my favorite flavor. It's the dark Morello, cherry, and pomegranate.
I'm not a fan of those. I might be in the minority. I know.
I don't like the basic flavors, but I love the unique flavors.
See, maybe I need to try
my bougie water.
Your bougie water? Because you're Italiano too, right?
Yeah, I have an appreciation for the European.
See, I'm Italiano and I can't even pronounce it. San Pellegrino.
There you go. You need the inflection and you got to speak with your hands.
What's up, Liz? Blaze Becker. I love these names.
Metamorphosis.
That's Carrie.
That is an awesome name.
And that is Carrie.
I love it.
And then we have Bubbles Has Rules.
That is Karen. What up, Karen?
All right, cool. Well, thank you all for joining us. So Coach Nat, why don't you give us a brief introduction for those who don't know you, and then I'll go next.
Sure. So I am a physique athlete. Probably what I'm known most for, the Keto Bikini Pro. Did that with keto. been on this low carb fitness journey, low carb journey first, and then fitness followed for about 12 or so years now. And I am a health coach, a personal trainer, nutritional therapy practitioner, all those things. But generally, the thing I care about the most is that women become the CEOs of their body. They know and learn what's right for them and how to implement protocols in the low carb space in a way that works best for them. And that is really what drove this conversation, because I know we align on finding your own way in this space.
Your food freedom.
Indeed. So yeah, tell us a little bit about you so my audience can get to know a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Nicole. Former Fat Girl is my channel, and I am certified in nutrition, senior nutrition, so 65 plus, as well as emotional eating psychology. And I guess what led me to this is at my heaviest, I was about 200 pounds at 5 feet short. So I was technically considered morbidly obese at that point. And it all stemmed from a childhood trauma when I lost my brother. I turned to food. I was 11 and I just ate my feelings, and that snowballed into becoming morbidly obese. So after I lost all the weight, I became educated and kind of got a better understanding of why it may not be all your fault. You may not be able to control your physiological response to the things that are happening, but you can control your behaviors. That's when I became passionate, just to help other people who are stuck in that vicious cycle. So now I work with clients to help with things like binge eating tendencies and emotional eating. And those are two things I struggled with.
Oh my goodness, that is a segment of my population that really struggles with that. So I love connecting with other people in the space who have a passion for the same thing.
Yes.
I like to say it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Yes. Yeah. So since that is a good segue, and I love being a CEO of your body and your health and all that. I think that's awesome. So let us know in the chat what you think about this question. Do you believe that once you're an addict, and this is food, just anything, just addiction in general, once an addict, always an addict? What are your thoughts on that? Let us know in the chat. But that's what prompted this conversation, because we were talking about this over brunch when we met in person. And we kind of have the same mindset when it comes to that. That's one of my pet peeves, is associating that negative connotation, like I'm going to have a cheat day or I fell off the wagon. I'm a big believer of reframing things, like giving yourself permission, or I ate this and it's okay. Like, not because if you look at it another way, it's you're failing. Before you even ate the thing, you failed. So what are your thoughts, Coach Nat, on, do you believe that once you're an addict, you are always an addict? And if you believe not, what do you believe? How do you think you have to live the rest of your life? Because a lot of people think you have to abstain. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh boy. Okay. It's convoluted, but in general, okay. So for one thing, I'm really a big, huge proponent on language and words, and that the words that we use have power, and they have meaning, and they have meaning to us. That really nothing has any meaning until we assign it meaning. So the words that we use to describe things for ourselves, generally they're associated with something that is very powerful to us. And so I think that there's a little bit on either side of this discussion, but I agree with a little bit of both sides. But I will say, when we associate ourselves with an identity, we have to be careful of the identities that we are claiming. And that I'm a very big believer that how we see ourselves, what we call ourselves, and how we talk about ourselves matters more than anything else. So when we believe it to be true, it is true until we believe something else to be true. So as long as we are calling ourselves addicts, it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that I will be an addict as long as I call myself an addict. So if I am saying I'm an addict for life, that I'm relegating myself to that identity for the rest of my life. And I think that could be detrimental. I also read between the lines of what people mean when they say things. And I think that it would behoove a lot of us to do a little of that reflection and pulling things apart and really trying to understand what people are saying when they're sharing things, particularly in this space, right? We get frustrated by what we see in the space because we understand what it's like to have clients who see the things that people are saying out there and then internalize them in the wrong way, and it ends up hurting the client. And so I think it's really important when we're in this space that we have a responsibility on our shoulders for the way that we talk about things to try to help people understand what we mean by it. So I think what people really mean when they're saying, I am an addict for life, and this is how it has to be. I have to think of myself as an addict, or else I cannot be healthy, I cannot be healed, I cannot be recovered. I think what they really mean by that, and I am a recovered bulimic. So trust me, I know what I'm talking about from both sides of this thing. I'm not just some fitness bikini model who's telling you that, you shouldn't have this problem. It's never a judgment, right? We're both in this space because we've been through it. And so, but I don't call myself a bulimic. I don't identify with that. And I certainly don't think about it on a regular basis anymore. But I just had this conversation in my group today about how we can't chill out. We can't just chill out and just not be vigilant when we have had an addictive past. So whenever we've had disordered eating of any kind, addictions of any kind, we don't get a free pass for the rest of our lives. We don't get to a point where we say, well, now I'm all recovered and I'm 100% healed and I don't ever have to think about it again because it's not a problem for me anymore. Right? You can't just live with rose-colored glasses because one day it'll sneak up on us and then all of a sudden we'll find ourselves in a relapse. So I think it's important to be vigilant and to recognize that when you have had that past, that you need to be vigilant. That doesn't mean that you are stuck in a way of eating or that you have to follow some kind of food rules to be healed. I think that's actually the antithesis of being healed. If you still need strict food rules, there's probably something you need to deal with that has nothing to do with the food. So recognize that past means something and dive into the real problem, because a diet can't heal you for life from an addiction. That's my position on it.
I love that. You said antithesis. That's the word of the day. The antithesis.
Used to that.
So we do have a couple comments while you were talking. But first, Addie's in the chat. Welcome. So Bubble says, I believe there are addiction to chemicals. Others are behavioral habits, in my opinion. I'm going to touch on that because I'm going to compound on what Coach Nat said to kind of tie into my food freedom, and which goes a little bit about what Natalie was saying when it comes to kind of relapse and all that stuff. So I believe that there is I believe most of it, I would say, I don't want to say most of it, but I would say a good portion of it is behavioral. But I will say there is a hormonal component when it comes to emotions as well. And your body doesn't distinguish between emotions. So whether you're sad, pissed off, happy, your body reacts the same way. So you can't control that, but you can control how you respond. And that's a little bit of what Coach Nat was saying. But I do have a couple things to add to that. But thank you so much, Carrie. I've missed you. I missed you guys too. I've been kind of gone for the last couple of weeks with some personal stuff, but thank you, Carrie. Thank you. It's been a rough 2 weeks, couple weeks, or a week and a half.
that plays into our conversation too, because, you know, the things that send people off into relapses is when difficult things in life happen.
I can actually, yes. Okay. So I can actually touch a little bit, like add to what you said, and then touch a little bit about what's been going on with me and kind of how I work through it. But on top, to kind of continue what you were saying, I believe in food freedom and I promote food freedom. And I say I call myself like a recovering sugar addict or whatever, just recovered. But that doesn't mean, what I mean by food freedom is when you are in that vicious cycle, food has a control over you. And that's what I hear when people in this space say, I cheated or I failed or I fell off the wagon. Food still controls them. That's what I take from that language. Because if I have something, like I had a piece of chocolate after dinner today, I don't feel guilty. I don't feel ashamed. I wanted chocolate. I chose to have that piece of chocolate. That's what I mean by food freedom, is taking back control over food. And you now are in the driver's seat. You choose to eat something, but that doesn't lead to guilt, shame, or feeling like a failure or whatever. So I'm to the point now where I consider myself to have food freedom. I can have whatever I want and no longer feel the urge to continue eating or have my cravings go through the roof. I can just stop at one. But when you mention relapse, that's true. So I think when some people hear me say food freedom, they think I don't struggle with those things still. There are times where I do struggle. So for instance, I had a very close family member pass away Friday 2 weeks ago. The funeral was just Saturday. So I literally flew back from Vegas, landed at 11 p.m., got in my car Friday morning, drove home, and I was home for an entire week. It was super stressful, emotional. I'm still not 100% emotionally recovered, in all honesty. But during that whole time, I had Chick-fil-A. We ate out a lot because we were cleaning the house. We were just busy, right? I'm one of the people who are on the will beneficiaries, whatever. So me, my mom, and whatever in charge of cleaning the house. It's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's stressful. So we ate out a lot. I wanted to eat all of the things. I wanted to stress eat. I wanted to emotionally eat. I had to be cognizant, what Coach Nat was saying. I had to be cognizant about that and kind of resist the urge. And we'll get into how we do that, because I'm sure we both have different processes. But I did. I wanted to eat my feelings. I wanted to just not give a shit and just eat whatever the hell I wanted. But I didn't. But I had to be self-aware, and I had to stop myself from doing that because that's what I wanted to do, in all honesty. So I'm still tempted by those urges. I still have those tendencies. It's just now I'm more in control of those tendencies, whereas before I didn't have the control. I would let those urges take over, and I would just give in, and just before I know it, I ate a whole damn bag of cookies or whatever I was eating, or 2 pints of ice cream. So yeah, so I agree. Once an addict, always an addict to a point, but kind of what was said earlier by Bubbles, that I believe a lot of it is behavioral. It's just controlling your instincts and urges and how you respond and your behavior towards those urges and cravings and instincts. So I believe it's kind of like a convoluted thing. I believe you don't have to abstain the rest of your life, but at the same time, you have to be cognizant and you have to do the work in order to get to that point. But I still do have those tendencies and urges. I just can control them a lot better now than years past.
That was very well said. Yes. I think the thing that frustrates me about the calling yourself an addict is that it's meant to be that guardrail, that because I'm an addict, like it's such a small difference, right? It's, in your case, for example, had you gone up there to deal with this tragedy, saying to yourself, I'm a food addict, so I need to XYZ, that would have been a very different energy in your body, in your mind, that a signal, a different message you'd be sending to yourself than you saying, I can go up there and handle this because I'm in control of food. Food isn't in control of me. It's this place of weakness, calling yourself an addict and saying that that's what's going to keep you in line, that you're an addict and you have to follow these rules, versus the liberation and the empowerment of not calling yourself an addict and saying, I have the power and I have the control. Which one feels better to you? I know which one feels better to me.
You remind me of like He-Man. I have the power.
We just showed our age.
I've been binge watching all these old cartoons. What have I been watching? Tailspin.
Oh my gosh.
Tailspin, Inspector Gadget. I've been binge watching all the old school cartoons.
You know what? It's okay because Bronson makes me feel young when he brings up shows that we're not even on anymore.
Well, he's older. Isn't he like 50 something? Oh, here he comes. Oh, Bronson heard his name.
Again?
Babe, what were some of the shows you mentioned that are like before my time that we just talked about the other day? It was like
way. Okay. Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes?
Oh, I know Hogan's Heroes. Christy's in the chat. She's old, right, Christy?
Get Smart.
Spelling people out. Get Smart?
Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, you remember Get Smart?
Get Smart. I mean, he's young, so you know, what did you mentioned Leave It to Beaver, and I was like, I knew Leave It to Beaver.
He watched the reruns of Leave It to Beaver.
Father Knows Best. Yep.
Maybe, but you're short, Nicole. Hey.
Yes. We are the dynamic duo. We're like the Mighty Mouses. Now that's
oh my God. I
Mouse.
think we're the same height, or you're taller than me.
No, we discovered. Oh, I was wearing heels. So yeah.
No, how tall are you?
We're 5 feet. We're both.
Oh, we're both the same height. Okay.
We're 11.
No, I'm not. Stop it. Taking an inch away from me. Okay, no, funny story actually. And this is funny because I just saw another YouTube where a couple of competitors were talking about this. And one of them mentioned this. And I said, oh my God, I'm not the only one. That she was shrinking each year when she would compete and they would height her for her shows. She was losing a 1/4 inch every time. And I've actually learned this as well. When you get super lean, you actually lose fat between your vertebrae.
You said that.
Actually get shorter. So when I was measured for my NPC competition years ago, they heighted me at 4'11 3/4. And I had always said I was 5 feet. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm in my off season now, so I am officially 5 feet.
Dang.
But yeah.
Well, you shrink when you get older. I might be classified as a legal short person by the time I get
about that at brunch too, didn't we?
There was a little short person. It was like Short People of America conference when I went home a couple months ago in New Jersey. And I was afraid they were going to recruit me. I called my husband. I had to go in hiding.
Did you try to get a scholarship?
I did. I did.
Scholarship.
I was told I was too tall. So Blaze Becker, some of us are the over 50 club. It's okay. It's okay. We're not hating.
A lot of my crew, man, I've discovered my ladies are almost all over 40 for sure. I might have a couple of like 39-year-olds in there, but it's mainly 50s and 60s.
Nice.
Like rocking it. Ladies getting healthier and fitter as we get older.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to prove society wrong.
Bubbles, you guys are babies. I'm older than Bronson and know all the shows he's mentioning. I think Bronson, I don't know if he's old enough for some of those shows. I think he may have caught the reruns. I think he probably caught the reruns. I don't know. Hogan's Heroes and stuff, that were 70s. Like, he was a baby then.
He was like 2, yeah.
Yeah. I must be old. I'm with Coach Bronson. I grew up watching all of those. Yeah. I'm 43. I'm not ashamed to say how old I am. I have had people's grandchildren, Renee. I don't know, Coach Ann, if you know Renee. She's an awesome subscriber. Her grandson, I was with Erin. Erin, if you're still in the chat, I'm sorry, but this story needs to be told. So Erin and I, Jersey girl, we were on one of our first live streams together, and her grandson, Renee, he's like 17 or whatever. And he walked into the room. He's like, "Who's that hottie?" And we didn't know which one of us he was talking about. Renee's like, he's talking about you, Nicole. I was like, oh, hell yeah. So he's like, tell her to slide into my DMs. I was like, I'm not sliding anywhere. I'm like,
wow, well, you still got it, girl.
I was a lot younger. I was like, I love your girl. He thought I was 20 something. I was like, I'll slide into your DMs now.
Wow, that feels good. That feels good. That's a good compliment.
Addie, being metabolically healthy means being able to handle stressful life situations. There is a direct connection between the gut and the brain. Yes. The gut-brain axis. Yes. So as far as the hormonal, it's not your fault or whatever, can you explain a little bit of what's at play? So like if you have kind of like a stressful event I went through, a week and a half ago, what do you think in your experience and your education, what hormonal responses and all that contributes to those cravings and wanting to go to town on ice cream or whatever?
Oh man. Okay. So there's a couple of different things here. So there's one that I won't go too deep into, but there's the trauma response. And that gets into more of like the woo-woo side of things, psychological side of things. But usually there's a trigger, and then from that trigger, there's a response. There's a cue and a response that's happening. And your body is familiar with that cue and then responding in a certain way. So there is a subconscious after. Now, here's where the habit piece comes in, because that subconscious connection between those two things, the cue and the response, it didn't happen out of nowhere. If you never had the habit, you wouldn't have a response to that particular cue. It was formed from the habit. So, granted, many of us have had these habits for so long that we don't ever remember choosing to create the habit. We didn't choose to create the habit. These things were programmed in us from when we were very young, from our parents, from generations and generations and society and the media and everything, telling us that this is a perfectly okay way to handle things. Because unfortunately, and this is another thing that grinds my gears, we don't have the same response when it comes to food as we do for other drugs. When we're talking to a person who has a problem, if we were talking to a person who has a problem with alcohol or any other drug, we don't act like it's perfectly okay. Okay, I shouldn't use alcohol as an example, because unfortunately, it has become perfectly okay in our society today to turn to wine and turn to alcohol whenever we're stressed. So that is kind of in the same camp with food these days as well. So I would say comfort foods and alcohols have become way too accepted as a means of emotional management, is what Dr. Sivas calls it, emotional management systems. But we wouldn't say it's perfectly okay for somebody to go smoke crack or take meth to deal with their problems. But for some reason today, people act like it is perfectly okay and that there's something wrong with you if you're not partaking in alcohol or junk food, absolute garbage food that is not doing anything for your body. That those two things, we get villainized for not consuming them. And there is an overarching belief that it's perfectly okay to turn to these things. So I think I'm probably getting off topic of what you specifically asked me about the cue and the response, but let's get back to that. The cue and the response, that came from the majority of human beings for generations turning to food, and adults turning to alcohol for when they were stressed. We watched generations do it before us. We watch it play out on TV every day. It is something, oh my goodness, yesterday, a couple days ago, I was looking for birthday cards in the store. And I was reading birthday cards. I kid you not, I took pictures of them because I said, I have to post about this. For women, I was looking for a women's birthday cards. I'm going to read these to you. Okay, these two ladies running. It isn't a normal fitness tracker. This calculates how many glasses of wine you've earned. The next one, yoga class. I thought you said pour a glass.
Exercise. I thought you said extra fries.
Always one for keeping fit. Susie did her regular pelvic floor exercises, and she has a wine bottle between her legs that she's opening. Okay? If you eat an entire cake without cutting it, you technically only had one piece. And finally, men like to shower because it's quick. Women like to bathe because you can't drink wine in the shower. And these are the kinds of things that we're seeing bombarding us all the time that, hey, when you're stressed, mommy needs wine. How about that one, right? Like, it is constantly taught to us. So we have this internal programming where our brains have been wired to turn to these behaviors, and it has never been taught to us that it's not a good thing until we become sick and overweight and unhappy and uncomfortable with where we are with our health, and we finally want to do something about it. And then we're taught. So here we are with 20, 30, 40, 50 years of behaviors. So a huge part of it is we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves thinking we're going to change these things overnight. That until, I like to say to my ladies, until you've been doing this healthy lifestyle longer than you were doing the other behaviors, it's not just going to be second nature to you. Of course, it's going to feel difficult because it's new and it's different, and you have to rewire the pathways. And so I'll kick it back over to you to talk more about what's happening on a chemical level or a biological.
So when you were talking about wine in the shower, I said, bull crap, you could drink wine in the shower. So Bruce took that as a challenge. Sounds like a challenge to me. I'm like, if they have shower beers, why can't you have shower wine?
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. And speaking of Renee's grandson, Renee was late because of her grandson. So welcome, Renee.
He's waiting for you in the DMs.
Well, I am not sliding in anyone's DMs, Renee. So a huge part of it is behavior, epigenetics, the environment, all that stuff. But on a chemical, hormonal, you have because I know Coach Nat mentioned this on one of the lives I was in the chat for a minute or two when you talk about parasympathetic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when you are in a chronic state I was in a chronic state of stress, like the entire week and a half, like nonstop. It was insane. So I was likely kicked into the sympathetic nervous system, right? So that's known as your fight or flight, and there's other nicknames and stuff. But a big misconception is a lot of people, when they hear fight or flight, they think physical threat, but that's just your body's physical, mental, and emotional threat, a perceived threat. Mental, emotional, physical. So when you are stressed, emotional, whatever, you are kicked into the sympathetic nervous system. Once that happens, if you're there long enough and you don't get yourself out, your hormones start to change. So you have your adrenaline is released, your glycogen stores are released, right, to give you energy to neutralize said threat.
Yep.
And then of course your cortisol, and when that happens, of course your glucose goes up, your blood sugar. All that affects your hunger controlling hormones, your glucose, your insulin, your ghrelin, your leptin. All those things are affected. So most people feel hungrier than they normally would, right? So your hunger happens suddenly or abruptly. You crave specific foods, usually sugary, salty foods, and you feel guilt or shame. You oftentimes will feel guilt, shame afterwards. That's different than true hunger or physical hunger. That is gradually over time, often hours after your last meal. You crave a variety of foods. If you're in our space, you crave beef. You want all the beef. But it happens gradually, often hours after your last meal. You do not have specific cravings and you do not feel guilt or shame. That's the difference. So some people do have their hunger and their appetite suppressed. I have had clients like that, but those are the outliers. The more common is to have, that uncontrollable hunger, that emotional hunger, and then you feel like a bottomless pit because your fuel gauge is malfunctioning, I like to say. So that's all happening physiologically. That's causing those cravings. And that's where the behavior component comes in, to be able to control those cravings and not give into those cravings. So I think, and let us know if you have any questions in the chat. Try not to get too technical, but I know I get a lot of comments on my YouTube, in the chat and DMs, and clients who do struggle with this area. So I do think it's a very important topic that not a lot of people in the space are talking about. So I think that's a good segue. You talked about the brain connection, kind of like the gut brain connection. I talked about the hormonal stuff. So I think that's a good segue into the behavioral aspect. So how do you what are your tools or advice that you give your clients to I want to say, combat those cravings, or to kind of learn to control their behaviors? What kind of methods do you use for that?
Okay, so I always like to say the only way out is through. There is something that your body is craving in those times, and it's not food, like you said. It's not a physiological hunger. It's not going to be solved with food. You can eat and eat and eat in those situations and never be satisfied because it wasn't a physical need. But there is another need that you have, one or more needs that you have. So I like to encourage clients to, I think the biggest thing that has been the most successful for people, because I've talked about this a lot of different ways, but here's the thing, is when I encourage you to pause and observe what's happening in your mind and your body and what you're feeling, there is a ton of resistance to doing that, because what you're feeling is not good or comfortable, right? We put these labels on our emotions. The truth is, our emotions are not good or bad. They just are, and they need to be seen, and they're asking to be seen. But when we are turning to food, we are avoiding our emotions. So I like to say it's not emotional eating. You're actually avoiding your emotions when you're eating. But when I encourage you, the answer is sitting with the emotions and learning to feel the emotions and to be present with yourself and not leave yourself to go avoid and do something else. I like to talk about the analogy of, if you had a hurt, crying child, you wouldn't tell them to go sit in the closet and close the door because you can't deal with them right now. That you would hold that child until that child calmed down. And it wouldn't take that long. But you also wouldn't tell the child, I only have 2 minutes, so hurry up and get this over with. You would hold that child as if you had all the time in the world. And that child would feel that energy, and that energy would calm that child down. So being with your emotions in the midst of a craving is like parenting your own self. You are the crying, hurt child that needs attention. You have feelings and emotions and needs that are asking for your attention, and it will not be solved if you go anywhere outside of yourself. However, that is a scary proposition for someone who's been in that situation, to now not only not turn to the food, but have to actually face the real problem head on. It's like, wait, what? You want me to not do this thing that's very comforting to me and instead do the thing that is the opposite of comfort? And so a tactic that has worked really well in the interim is the 10-minute delay tactic, where you say to yourself, okay, if I want that food, and let's say I just want to have a big old binge party, I get to have my binge, but after 10 minutes.
Delay gratification.
I am going to set my timer, And ideally, my goal is for you to sit down during that 10 minutes, do some somatic work, getting into your body, understanding what you're trying to find what you're feeling. And then eventually the emotions and the thoughts and emotions will come up, and going into that and doing some journaling and all that work, right? But you're allowed, the first step, to do anything within that 10 minutes except go get the food. And then work your way toward what am I really feeling, and what is my true need right now? Because sometimes your need is for rest. Sometimes your need is to sit your butt down and not do anything, and not be doing everything for everyone else for 5 minutes. A lot of the time, that's what the need is. It's just for a break and some breaths, maybe a hug.
I feel like we're kind of similar because I kind of use somewhat similar. But Renee says, what do you call it if you cuss and eat at the same time?
Is that a joke? Do we get the answer?
Go ahead. Do you have an answer?
I'm used to Bronson's pun jokes all the time. So I'm like, there should be an answer on the other side of this.
Where's Bronson? Oh man.
I would say it's a skill to cuss and eat at the same time. Like, just speak and eat at the same time.
I mean, that's talking with your mouth open, as long as you don't spit or smack your gums. That's like the worst.
You have anybody else around you at the time.
So like I do the same thing. So I learned this from my friend Pim, who is the only other person I know of who talks about this a lot, is be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because my first step is stop, right? And that leads into the differences between the hungers, but it's going to be uncomfortable because you're going against your cravings. But when you have these cravings coming on, and when you're in that state, you're kicked into the illogical, irrational brain, right? So if you just stop, it only takes a couple seconds, you'll be able to shift back to rational thinking, rational thought, logical thought. And that's what you want. So think of like your brain like the devil on the shoulder, right? So that's what's happening when you're in that illogical, irrational brain. So you want to shift it, right? So you want to take that control back and kick that devil off your shoulder. But then once you do that, it is going to be uncomfortable. It is going to suck. So embrace the suck. We like to say in the military, embrace the suck. But then assess your hunger. So now you know the difference between emotional and physical hunger. So say, am I really hungry? Or am I about to emotionally eat some crap? If the answer is B, you're about to emotionally eat some crap, then I like the distraction, which is kind of like a delayed gratification, sort of what you were getting at. So like do something else, whether it's journal. Sometimes I'll go for a walk or go to the gym or read or whatever. So distraction to kind of get your mind off of it. And it's sort of like delayed gratification. So after like 10, 20 minutes, you still want the thing, then go do the thing if that's what you choose to do. But over time, it'll get easier. And I still do that. Even that's what I did when I was in Jersey. I was like, no, I'm not really hungry. I just ate. And so I go through that still to this day. Sometimes when I have those cravings, is I assess my hunger. I stop. I'm like, no, I just eat. I'm not hungry. And I won't eat. So over time it'll get easier. But a lot of times people fall into this vicious cycle because of negative self-talk and all these things. Because a lot of people have something that happened in their childhood. For me, it was a trauma, or they got hurt, or a bad breakup, or a relationship, whatever the case is. I like using the cognitive behavioral therapy technique. That's what I went through. And you can Google these sheets. They're readily available on Google. And it's like putting your thoughts on trial. So it's like writing down your thought. Like for me, it was, I had no self-confidence. So I was like, that person doesn't like me, for instance. And then I would act as the defense attorney, prosecutor, and judge, right? So I would try to, as a defense attorney, I would try to prove my thought right. Yeah, this person doesn't like me. I did X, Y, Z to them. Or the prosecutor, no, I did nothing wrong. I woke up and came to work. What the hell's their problem? And then the judge was like, no, your thought is false. So it kind of like helps you reframe your thinking, reframe your negative self-talk, how you see yourself and the world and people around you or whatever. So that's another thing you can try outside of just journaling. And you can just Google like cognitive behavioral therapy worksheet. They're on Google. You just download the PDF. But that's what I did when I went through therapy. And that made a world of difference.
Yeah, we called it something when I went through my like a trauma healing. I went through a 90-day program, and then I did a retreat with this awesome group called Training Camp for the Soul, by the way, if anybody wants to check it out. My girl, Anat, still runs it. I think that it's gone through some different iterations over the years, but still running it. So Training Camp for the Soul was amazing. They called it the dinner party. So you give each part of you has a different role, and then you practice playing each role and what would each role say. So it's the same kind of concept. And it's just kind of a creative way to identify your thoughts, because we have a tough time of observing and identifying our thoughts. I know when I was first getting into recovery, and I was encouraged to think about, okay, what came up for me when I had the binge? What was going through my head? And my immediate response was, there was nothing in my head. I just wanted the food. There were no thoughts. What are you talking about? And it really took a lot of time for me to, and when I worked with a coach and actually sat down and journaled, committed to doing the journaling and then setting aside the time to do it and actually making myself do it, that I started to identify, oh, there really is dialogue going on up there. There really is, there are things that it's your limbic brain. And I love books like Brain Over Binge, and a lot of other books like that have now been written, and resources have come out that are similar. But the basic concept that she teaches in that is that you are not your thoughts. Those things that you think are you are not you. And when you can separate yourself from them and recognize you are, I'm combining another awesome book called The Surrender Experiment. That's all about learning to observe your thoughts. And that's essentially what meditation is. And it's that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. If you were your thoughts, you wouldn't be able to observe them. So you're observing, and there's something going on up there, but that's not you. And we get so caught up in the self-judgment over these things because the thoughts that we're thinking, we just take them as fact. And feelings are not facts. Thoughts are not facts. Thoughts we think enough become beliefs, and then that shapes a lot of our behaviors. And that's what's created a lot of these habits we don't want to have in our lives anymore. So we have to start peeling it back and asking. I like to encourage a postmortem, because when you're just starting to try to change these behaviors, a lot of the time you're not going to catch it beforehand. You're not going to have that awareness beforehand to stop yourself and do this until you really commit and you set maybe a little reminder. I mean, you've got to create all of these things that interrupt the pattern, right? But until you're versed in interrupting the pattern, a lot of the time the pattern still happens. And then you go into self-judgment mode and criticism mode. And then good luck healing if all you're doing is beating yourself up over what you did. So I encourage a postmortem until you can get to the point where you can start doing it before you grab the food. After you do it, within 24 hours is the key. Don't wait till the end of the week after your binge to now
or I'll start on Monday.
Remember what happened, right? And I don't remember what I did yesterday, right? So within 24 hours, sit down and make yourself do a postmortem of what happened. Because what's the other big thing we all do when we do something we're not proud of? We want to say, whoop, push that under the rug. Okay, move on. Right? I'm just going to move on. I'm going to start over, right? We do this in the diet world all the time. I cheated. Oh, well, okay. Forget about that. Move on. I ask a client, track the binge. Write down every single thing you ate, and don't tell me you don't remember, because you do, because I've been there. I remembered every single wrapper that I threw away during my binges. So go back through and write it all down. If you track in a nutrition app, plug it all in. See how many calories you ate. Look at what you did. We've got to face it. Until we face it, that stuff is going to live in our subconscious. And so bring it into the light of day. Look at what you did. Own up to it. So what's being the CEO of your journey is all about, owning it. And then say, okay, where was I? What was going on around me? How was I feeling? What thoughts were coming up? Because 10 times out of 10, the limbic brain is in survival mode in those stressful moments, emotional moments, and that limbic brain is now trying to keep you safe. And it's trying to keep you safe by doing the things you've always done, which is turning to the food. So it's telling you things to get you to go back to the food. Even if you've been on your keto journey or your health journey, it doesn't care about that. It's going to convince you to go back. So identify the things it said to you to convince you to go to the food. And that's where you start. Write down all those things. And then I like to say, treat it like a debate. Like you're a lawyer, like you said, like you're a lawyer and you're going to court. And after you've written all those things down, you go to the other side and now you are debating that voice in your head. So the next time it happens, you know some of these things it's going to say. And I can promise you for the first few months, it's going to say something different. As soon as you figure out a rebuttal to the things that it said already, it's going to throw you a curveball and it's going to start saying other things. So the postmortem can help a lot looking back at it when you are not in the situation. And then you can practice getting to the point where you can do it before you put the food in your mouth.
Postmortem is an interesting title given the week and a half I've had. So thank you. I'm just kidding.
Too soon.
Too soon. So
I'm so sorry. You know what? Bronson, military, you're military, right? One of my girls is military. She said, no, it's an after action report.
After action, yeah.
Bronson corrected me. He's like, you shouldn't call it a postmortem. It's an after action.
Yeah, postmortem sounds a little like sad.
It's a little morbid.
Yeah. So Addie says, I don't eat calories. I eat human food.
Sounds like you just had Bart K on recently.
Yeah. I actually did a really good interview with him this week. Did you see that one?
I started pulling it up at one point and then I had to jump into something else.
Yeah. He's better with all the science-y stuff. Technical.
Oh yeah, he'll get into it.
So Simpson says, I swear that I've already written a book after 3 days doing Natalie's challenge. I didn't realize I had so much to spew.
Oh boy, don't we all? It is like living in there and it wants to come out. It is so powerful. Congrats. The Grace and Grind challenge is underway.
And then Bruce is doing another challenge. He said, I'll let you guys know how wine in the shower goes. Carrie, I'll check out the grown-up juice boxes. You know, they have wine in a can now, Bruce. You can buy wine in a can. Just saying. Not that I've had one before.
I have seen those.
Yeah. And then Addie says, my latest book is out soon. What's Wrong with the World? A Tyrannical Rant by Addie Larson. It's 800 pages of goodness, truth and reality. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine if that were true. Post, after, more, death.
It's literally morbid.
So we definitely covered a lot, and it was pretty deep conversation, which is good. But let us know in the chat if you have questions and what you thought. But what are your final words, or what do you hope to impart on the people watching live and the replay? What do you hope they get out of this conversation?
Yeah, I have to say, I'm thrilled with where this conversation went, because we weren't just a couple of coaches ranting about things. We really ended up getting into some really powerful practices that can help people on their journey. And that's all I ever want for any of my videos, anybody that I chat with, the connections that I make, like with you. It's like we can bring things to people that help them on their journey. That's all that matters. So if anybody took anything from this and then can implement it and move forward in their journey, that's what I want.
Well said, neighbor.
We'll have to do more of these.
Yeah, so let us know what you think, because we want to do, we initially thought we would rant because I like Family Guy and I just thought grinds my gears. And yeah, you actually said that earlier. So like we're thinking about doing these like maybe monthly and just getting together, kind of like talking with coaches and kind of using our experiences, because we're both experiencing different things. Like I don't work with athletes, and I know you don't solely work with them, but I think we both work with different clientele in a way, and we're both coming at it from different perspectives and experiences. So, but we kind of see eye to eye on a lot of things. So I think it's interesting conversations on talking about different aspects when it comes to like weight loss or low carb and emotional eating. I think they can all tie together. So let us know in the chat, whoever channel you're watching on. Please feel free to drop the other one a sub. We greatly appreciate it. But drop a comment and let us know if there's a topic that you want us to cover next month, and we'll be glad to do that. But yeah, I agree. I think if people can walk away with like one little nugget, I think that's pretty awesome. And if these conversations do, help people, I definitely think we should definitely keep doing these.
I love it. Good things happen when good people get together.
I tell you. Oh, well, Jeannie's here. Jeannie from Australia.
What up? From across the world.
Nicole has modeled herself on Meg from Family Guy. I don't know. I think Meg is not into men. I'm not sure. I don't think she is. So Addie says chapter 12 is Ansel Keys. So Addie went to the Ansel Keys University. It's a joke. And then chapter
like, wait, what?
It's a joke is Bastards I've Met. I dare you to write that book. But at least write the intro paragraph to those 2 chapters, please. And email them to me.
You never know, man. You could end up being a millionaire. Like,
I'm telling you,
seriously.
actually write at least one paragraph of the Ansel Keys chapter and Bastards I've Met, and I'll react to your chapters.
And actually, if you get on TikTok and just read pieces of your book on TikTok, you can become a TikTok millionaire.
You can become TikTok famous.
Seriously, like there are opportunities out there. So these little jokes, like turn them into something, because you just never know what it could become.
I think
Stranger
it's funny
things have happened.
because I'm used to Addie, so sometimes I'll have guests on and take whatever comment is seriously. And it's just funny seeing reactions. My chat gets buck wild sometimes. Oh, Rick is here. Do you know Rick?
I don't think so.
He's the 40-year carnivore. He likes iguanas and ducks. Yeah.
40 years in the game?
40 years. He makes heart attack chicken. He calls it.
Chicken. I'm guessing there's bacon and
it's
cheese
like
involved.
tallow. It's like chicken thighs basted in tallow, and yeah, he does a lot of videos on. I don't know exactly how he cooks. I know he cooks a lot in tallow.
I love me some chicken thighs, so I will have to check that out for sure.
Quack quack, Rick. But oh wait, I'd love to live in that house, Nicole. Yeah. Some of the people think this is a Smurf house. It was supposed to be a Hobbit house.
It looks like let's see, Smurfs. Now that was my show growing
That was
up.
your cartoon?
Smurfs. I loved the Smurfs.
Did you have the blankets?
I didn't.
I had the blankets.
I had all the Rainbow Bright stuff.
I was gonna say Rainbow Bright, and what was the other one? What was the one with the horse? Yeah, Rainbow Bright was the horse.
Yeah, Rainbow Bright. Yep.
Yeah, what was the horse's name?
Oh my gosh, there were a bunch of them.
Oh my god.
Oh no, My Little Pony.
No, you're thinking of My Little Pony.
I'm thinking of My Little Pony now.
Yeah, I couldn't get into My Little Pony or Care Bears.
Oh, Care Bears. You know what I threw out there that Bronson didn't remember? Do you remember the Gummy Bears?
Yes.
I sang the song. I had to pull up the song on YouTube to show it to him because I was like, How do you not remember the gummy bears?
How do you like? Okay, strawberry shortcake. They
Oh,
are.
yeah.
I think they remade that.
Strawberry
Did
shortcake.
they remake that?
And the little doll smelled like a strawberry shortcake.
Yes. Starlight. Starlight was a horse. Yes.
That's right. Okay.
I couldn't remember the horse.
Of course.
Do you remember does anyone remember Gem?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember Gem?
I was never into it though, but I do remember it.
There were 80s rocker chicks.
Yeah. I was definitely, I mean, when you brought up He-Man and She-Ra, we used to play on the playground. I was always She-Ra. I loved She-Ra. Isn't that funny? I ended up becoming a bodybuilder.
She-Ra, is that what inspired you?
She-Ra was my hero.
I used to want to be buff too. I still do. I don't want the rest of this fat though. Like I'm muscular, it's just encapsulated in some fat. Erin says, I never understood why there was only one female Smurf. That's true.
I know, right?
That's true. Well, she had her run of all the other Smurfs, I guess.
What was going on in that town?
I don't know. What was going on in the Smurf world?
Right? You had to come from somewhere.
What about? I like how they made all the like hero girls like super buff. And then
nowadays the actresses that play them in the movies are teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Bronson's like, they should have got somebody else to play that role. I don't buy her as a superhero.
Smurf smut.
Oh gosh.
Gargamel. Oh my god. Yeah, I was watching My Gay Friend Looks Like He-Man. Can you send I want to see a picture. I want to see the end of Inspector Gadget. I've never seen the end. Like what happens with Claw? Like, do we ever see who Claw is?
Did they ever have an end?
I don't know, but I'm binge watching because I want to the end. Like, what happened to Claw? Do we ever is it a man attached to the hand?
That's hilarious. I never even thought about like what was the ending of these shows?
I don't know.
They never happened. They just ceased to exist.
Well, Rainbow Bright had a movie.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has come back a few times.
That was my brother's favorite. Yeah. I liked Donatello. The purple guy.
Who did I like? I was probably into Michelangelo.
Oh, they added another girl Smurf at the end? There was an ending?
Once again, you know what? We should YouTube the endings of these things.
I think maybe we should do a watch party. We should.
You know what? Bronson and I were talking about doing a watch party of that new vegan propaganda Netflix movie.
Oh, someone was talking about that. I had a subscriber wanted me to react to that, but I was like, that's a little too much. That's a little too much time to kind of watch all of it and get a summary and then but a watch party because it's 3 episodes, right?
I thought it was just a movie.
No, someone said it's a short. Has anyone in the chat, have you guys seen that new what's it called? That vegan propaganda movie. What's it called?
I don't even remember the name.
I forget the name of it, but has anyone seen it? I was told that it's a 3-part series. Was it a series or was it an actual movie? Let us know if you've seen it.
Because we'll do a reaction. We'll do a live reaction. We could do a live reaction watch party. Yeah,
I'm doing a watch party with my channel members. We're watching Over the Top. You know that arm wrestling movie?
What is it?
That arm wrestling movie, Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my gosh, no.
You know that movie?
I am so sheltered.
You don't know it?
No.
It's he's a trucker and he just like arm wrestles. It's like this, it's super cheesy, but for whatever reason, arm wrestling came up in one of my live streams. I was like, that's it. All my channel members, we're gonna have a watch party. We're gonna watch Over the Top. So that's what we're doing this weekend.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so my channel members in the chat, Sunday afternoon, it's our watch party. Be there or miss out on the fun. Addie said Inspector Gadget retired to Florida and trained civilians in concealed carry.
I think he's probably making gadgets for the military now.
That is true. According to Wikipedia, it was never revealed in the original cartoons. However, his face is shown in action figures, a video game, and that movie with French Stewart. I'm gonna have to consult Wiki after this stream because now I really want to know. Huh? There's a lot of cartoon chat in here. Maybe we should do like a cartoon stream.
Oh, I love y'all. It's all about connection, man.
Okay, so it was a 4-part series. Ooh.
Oh, see, I can't commit to doing that much.
It's called, yeah, okay.
Maybe one part of the series we could do a reaction, but I don't want to give them that support of watching it. So
yeah, a bunch of people. So I guess it's called You Are What You Eat. The 4-part series, the twin experiment has been dubbed grounds to start a healthy vegan diet by some stunned viewers. Wasn't the vegan, the twins, wasn't just one set of twins? Someone said there was like multiple set of twins in this one. I thought there was a study on one set of twins or whatever, and that's what this thing was based off of. Yeah, I need to go watch it this weekend. Maybe I'll watch it this weekend.
We'll probably do we should do a live reaction. How long can Bronson sit through this before he turns it off?
Oh my God. I think we should watch it live for the first time.
Yeah, I think that would be like,
can you imagine?
Real reactions. Not canned, never seen it before. You will see the real reaction.
No, all of my reaction videos are raw. I've never seen the videos I react to. I watch them for the first time when I react.
Yeah, I love that stuff. So, and I guarantee he won't be able to watch the whole thing. Halfway through, he'll get exasperated and just turn it off.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on how bad it is. What the health made me go vegan? That propaganda got me years ago.
Yikes.
I know. How about we eat the food of our distant ancestors before the agriculture? Yeah, I know. Makes no sense. 2 minutes and 37 seconds and Bronson will blow a head gasket.
You should take bets.
We should take bets. I think I'll watch it this weekend and just see if it's worth it. Because someone said that reading the study, like reacting to the study, is actually more worth it than the series.
Okay.
But I don't know what the study is.
Right. If you don't know what the study is, then you're kind of reacting to just whatever they're saying without having the background. So.
Okay, so Carrie says it was Nick Norowitz who did a reaction. Apparently it doesn't relate much to the study until late in the series. Interesting. You know Nick Norowitz, right? By now? So. He's the one who's doing the hyper responders, the lean mass hyper responders study.
Oh, with Dave Feldman?
Yeah. Yeah, so he's one of the PhDs who's involved. I think he's a PhD student.
Okay.
Yeah, or PhD student or medical student, but he has a PhD.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check out his reaction then.
Yeah. Well, we've been at this for about an hour and we talked about all sorts of things to include emotional eating, She-Ra, cartoons, Smurfs, Smurfettes, and her men. So let us know in the comment section if there is a specific topic you want us to cover next. Otherwise, we will come at you with another random chat. Maybe we'll rant next time. Maybe we would have both seen the series and we could rant about the series.
We could compile things between now and then that grind our gears in the space and come up with a list, and then we'll have some things to talk about next month.
We'll compare and contrast.
Yeah.
We'll go through the list live. How about that? That'll make it fun.
I like that idea. Yeah.
So we'll compile a list of all the things that grind our gears, and we'll go through the list live, and then we'll get everyone involved in telling us which on the list that we should talk about. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'll post in my group to get some ideas of what are you seeing out there that's driving you crazy that you want us to talk about next time? Posts, videos, anything that you're seeing out there that you want us to react to.
I like it. Well, thank you, Carrie. I've really enjoyed this chat. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us on this first installment. We will be back together sometime in February where we will decide what we're going to talk about live with you all. You guys were going to help us decide. So stay tuned for next month. I will be live with Dave, No Carb Life, Friday night for a live reaction of my favorite nutritionist, Goji Berry. Goji Berry. So stay tuned for that if you're around. Do you have anything coming up, Coach Nat?
We have the Grace and Grind Challenge happening right now inside my Facebook group, Keto Bikini Secrets, same name as my YouTube channel, Keto Bikini Secrets. So check us out. I actually put out all the details on a YouTube video just last week. And then every Tuesday we are live at 5 Eastern Standard Time with a live check-in for the challenge. So the challenge is totally free. It's just happening in my Facebook group. So you can dive in there and get all the details, and you can show up with us on our live chats on Tuesdays to talk about how it's going.
Yay. Yeah, her live chats are awesome. I try to chime in whenever I'm able to. But yeah, feel free to subscribe to Coach Nat if you're not subscribed. Subscribe to me if you're not subscribed. We're awesome. but other than that, thank you all for hanging with us. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day, depending on where you're tuning in from. And until next time, have a happy and healthy day. See you later, friends.
Peace out.